All right, so we've got Smiley Face, Starflex. Oh, we're starting. Okay. Oh, that's awfully generous. We are in open mode, so the players can start in either Link's house or the Sanctuary, and those that started in Link's house pick themselves up a nice sword, which will actually give them a pretty easy way to pave through Hyrule Castle, which the runners are probably going to do.
Now, Sanctuary had a mushroom, which is also pretty relevant, going to get you one item check and could lead to a fake powder check later on. Now, there is one little thing. I did see a map check, I believe. I think I saw crystals in all of the Light World dungeons, including a 5-6 crystal over on Eastern Palace.
Yeah, of course, crystals 5 and 6, which are marked as red in the game, and on the HUD there's a little star. Those two will grant access to a super bomb, which will open up the pyramid and yield 2 items later on in the run. And in the meantime, we have a moon pearl at Link's uncle. I did also want to point out that all 4 runners checked the tree pool, which actually, and Andy does it again. That's a tier 1 pool since they killed fewer than 4 enemies. So anytime they kill up 1, 2, or 3 enemies and pull the tree, they'll get those 5 rupees.
All right, so over on the right-hand side, we've had a check of the Lumberjack Cave, and that is our mirror today.
Yeah, wow, that's an important item, but yet to be determined if it's required. That will absolutely be required if we find that Swamp Palace is a crystal, but with 3 pendants in the Dark World, it's kind of a toss-up at this point.
Absolutely. And of course, for those of you who are unaware, that Lumberjack item only becomes available after defeating the Wizard Aghanim, which you may not have to do normally in a randomizer seed. Hey, there's our flippers inside the Thieves' Hideout in the Lost Woods.
Yeah, so that's one less item they're going to have to worry about if they do have to get in the Swamp Palace. So there are 10 main dungeons in the game. 7 of them are crystals. We've already seen three of the crystals, and the other 3 are pendants. So in order to access Ganon's tower to finish the game, they're going to need the 7 crystals, whichever the 10 dungeons the game randomly placed them in. So if Swamp Palace is one of those 7 crystals, then they'll need to do the extra mini dungeon in Hyrule Castle Tower in order to get them.
You know, a lot of people, resent having to go there. Whoa, there's the hookshot over by Amazing Ampharos and the ice rod.
Again, another item that might only be required if a certain dungeon contains a crystal, this one being Turtle Rock. Of course, Mirror could always just be sneaky and be required for a number of other item locations, even if Swamp turns out to be a pendant.
So, yeah, a lot of people resent having to go to Aghanim's Tower, but if it's something like this where the mirror is there and it's required because of that, everyone's going to have to go there, so it's not really that much of a problem.
Yeah, of course, we are still a few items away from even being able to access Ganon or Aghanim's Tower. We've got a sword that's required, but we'll also need either a second sword or a cape. Plus, I'm sure most of the runners are going to want to find a lantern to light the dark passages within that tower.
Hey, there's a glove on sale at the bottle vendor. So a nice lift upgrade. Lift upgrades, both of them, of course, going to be 100% required. Can't really get to Ganon's Tower without the Titan Spin. This isn't the Overworld Glitches tournament.
Okay, so we have 5 items in the mini Moldworm Cave for Andy up in your upper left here. And from here, he's really close to the 500 rupee threshold. He's going to want to buy the item from King Zora as well, and he'll be able to reach that with a minor glitch we like to call fake flippers. And he's also going to check the stun prize. If he hits an enemy with a boomerang and then kills it, it will always drop 1 bomb for the rest of this seed. So that's a really generous stun prize. So
Yeah,
he's going to check Ice Rod Cave, hopefully grab the extra 14 rupees he needs. And with the Moon Pearl, he'll actually be able to obtain 2 extra items as well behind the waterfall.
Yeah, so with both the Ice Rod Cave here and the Waterfall Cave and potentially the check at the Hobo under the bridge, there are 4 different places he could pick up those remaining 14 rupees. And of course, the 20 rupee item is the most common in the game, so it seems likely.
Yeah, well, just 10 arrows, so maybe he's going to go ahead and farm some more rupees. Of course, none of the other runners will have to showcase the fake flippers glitch because the other 3 runners actually have the real-life flippers.
It looks like Andy opted not to go for the fake flippers, so he'll more than likely have the actual flippers by the time he gets there.
Yeah, he's going to pick them up in the forest.
Along with Frame are going into the back of the escape. This is a hidden path underneath the gravestone that a lot of people never even knew was there to get to this back section. Oh, we've got the Book of Medora, which is going to grant access to Desert Palace. Of course, not to the entirety of Desert Palace.
Yeah, it'll at least give them 1 chest, and that 1 chest could end up being a map or compass and not really worth anything. But so Zero Rush actually wants to go ahead and check out Zora as well.
I think he's going to turn in the mushroom is what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. That is correct. Maybe both.
Now, Frame is going for the Chris Houlihan glitch to pick up an additional 225 rupees here.
This is basically the 404 page of A Link to the Past, put in by the original developers of the game back in the 90s. Kind of a catch-all if the game doesn't know where to put you. You drop in this room where some guy named Chris Houlihan won a Nintendo Power Contest to have his name put into a Zelda game. Oh, there's also a hook shot in the Blind Hut in the village, which I missed before.
And the Ice Rod in there.
Yeah, we're very 1 hammer short of having everything we need for Swamp Palace. Of course, not counting that mirror.
Now, of course, in order to get that mirror, not only do we have to clear Aghanim's tower, but we also have to have the boots to knock the leaves off of that tree. So there's a whole slew of things before we can get that.
So Furaim and Zero Rush both actually did a cool little glitch where they used the hook shot to clip through the moving block. And that allows them to check the item inside the dam and outside and save the door transition of the extra time. Now, Furaim actually did an extra little trick here. He pushed the block as he was walking north away from the block so that his hook shot moving back downward would be more effective. Just get that 1 extra tile. And these are all speedrunners. They're trying to save seconds. They're trying to save frames wherever they possibly can. And that's just a great example of some speed tech.
All right, so all of our runners now currently treading over similar paths that the other runners have done already. However, we may be seeing some flipper play here in a second.
Yeah, Flipper Play and Eastern Palace are both on the table right now. And of course, the Old Man's Closet on the way to Sahasrah is the Old Man, on the way to Eastern Palace as well.
All right, Amazing Ampharos is into the water, checking the floating or the Lake Hylia Island, excuse me, for a big heart. So probably won't come back to get that, but we are going to go see what our bridge-dwelling hobo has today.
Yeah, and that heart container on the floating island within the lake, that's one of the items on the mirror required list that we can go ahead and check off right now. So just a tiny little gasp of relief for that one.
All right, just a 10 bomb upgrade for Amazing Ampharos from the hobo, And I think he's going to head down to Mini Moldworm Cave now. And at the end of this little run, head to... ooh, he's got the mushroom out. Okay, so he's going to go do Witch.
He's gonna do which?
Yes.
Which is he gonna do?
The Witch.
Which?
I guess he's going to a sandwich place. Anyway.
Wait, he's going to the desert? I thought the witches were situated south of the waterfall. I didn't know they were sandwiches.
Okay. Oh boy.
Oh man, we have some hobo sync right now.
Alright, so
Andy is in the dark room.
Waterfall area.
Andy's in a dark room in Hyrule Castle. Now, if you don't have the lantern, dark rooms won't give you that little cone of light. You basically have to know the layout of the room to go into them. Now, it should also be stated that what Andy's doing right now is something we call a sequence break. He only finds red rupees in there, but basically, certain item locations, if you know specific tricks in the game, you can reach them before the item placement logic expects you to get there.
Yeah, so that's a good way to get around some of the more annoying checks that you might have to do. A lot of people try to get around going to, say, Aghanim or something like that. Amazing Ampharos is about to do a sequence break going up Death Mountain through the old man's cave.
Yeah, another dark room navigation. So where Andy was in the back of Escape already, so he was about as close to that chest as he was ever going to be. So it's good to throw that check in. In addition, doing sequence breaks like Andy did and AA is doing right now, they can oftentimes yield additional information on where certain items is. For example, Amazing Ampharos is on Death Mountain, and the game says you need lamp to get up Death Mountain. You need lamp or flute. Now, and there's the hammer, so... And now he knows that the hammer will not be required to get both lamp and flute. So what's
or
really
one or
huge...
The other. No, yeah, you're right.
Right, you would have to get one or the other before you pick up that hammer. So if he happens to find the lamp or the flute up here, and this is really... The sequence break up to Death Mountain without the lamp really pays off when you find the lamp on Death Mountain, because that really pigeonholes the possible locations of where flute can be.
Now, the only real downside here for Amazing Ampharos is he is up here on Death Mountain and does not have the Moon Pearl. So in the event that he finds, say, the Titan's Mitts, he will be missing out on a few checks he could do in the Dark World.
Right, and the Moon Pearl was accessible from the beginning of the game, what we like to call Sphere 0. So if he happens to do a glitch where he doesn't need the Moon Pearl, it's from his perspective, it's a sequence break, but we know that that Moon Pearl is already on the table for him. Now, he actually decides to check a few other things before using that hook shot to head to the east side of Death Mountain. So maybe he does want to find that Moon Pearl or even the Titan's Mitt before he continues on Death Mountain.
So, interestingly enough, we've got Zero Rush inside Desert Palace. I believe the first of our runners to check that out. We'll see what this has. We have a small key, so there is a situation where a Desert Palace can require the Pegasus boots. That happens when one of the keys is stuck on that torch to the left. But so far, we do not have a Boots Lock Desert.
All right, and if you are joining us from the Twitch front page, welcome. My name is Cross Product. I'm joined by Dr. Bob Tastic, and we are currently bringing you a Link to the Past Randomizer Summer Tournament Qualifier. Obviously, I just read those words off at the top of the stream, but let me explain. A Link to the Past is the third game in the Legend of Zelda franchise, created by Nintendo and released on Super Nintendo. So if you've been around the last 25 years, you may have heard of A Link to the Past. Now, what A Link to the Past Randomizer does is it takes that base game and shuffles the items around and creates all new puzzles for our runners to figure out. And what we're doing right now is a qualifier match for a summer tournament. It's 2 weeks worth of qualifier matches. This is the first match of week 2, and every runner will be performing in 4 of the qualifier races. And the top 8 runners will move on to a bracket stage to compete for cash prizes with a pool totaling $7,500.
Very, very much so. Just to keep you up to date on what has happened, we did locate the silver arrows. They were inside Sahasrala's closet, so Amazing Amphoros has those on hand now.
I don't expect any of these runners will need the silver arrows to finish the game, but it's always a nice little time save.
And I also don't expect our runners to skip Sahasrala's closet at any point. So,
yeah, especially with Eastern Palace being a crystal, they're going to have to make their way over to that area of the map at some point.
Oh, Zero Rush being the first of our runners to check the least commonly checked Sphere 0 location, and that is, or Sphere 1 location, that is Agina's cave over in the desert. That has the fire rod in it.
So we have a question from chat about what are silver arrows. So silver arrows are an upgrade to the bow item, and now none of the runners have actually found the bow, so they won't be able to use the silver arrows yet. But the bow is always required to complete the game, and the silver arrows make the final boss fight much faster and much easier, as well as certain other bosses throughout the game.
Ideally, the game expects you to damage the final boss until a certain point, at which point he turns blue and you can shoot him with silver arrows. But there are ways around that.
Yep, and I imagine that all 4 of our featured runners tonight will be privy to that information on how to defeat the final boss Ganon without the silver arrows. Now, I did mention already that the items are shuffled around, but what I neglected to mention is that the dungeon prizes are actually shuffled as well. In this game, there are 10 main dungeons, 3 in the light world, 7 in the dark world. Now, in the normal base game, you would have 3 pendants in the light world and 7 crystals in the dark world. But all 10 of those dungeon prizes have been shuffled around. So only the 7 crystals are necessarily required to enter into the last phase of the game. However, those other pendant dungeons might have important items in them as well. So far, we've seen that the 3 dungeons in the light world all have crystals, which usually makes for a faster distribution of items, or seed as we call it.
All right. So Andy has been through our Paradox Cave, as we call it, over on the east side of Death Mountain, where Faraime currently is. He found the Bombos medallion in there, which could be required to enter some dungeon, either Turtle Rock or Misery Mire. And also, when passing by the floating island in the sky, notice the cane of Samaria up there, the red cane that makes blocks happen. And that's going to be required for either Misery Mire or Turtle Rock as well, if we need to do those dungeons.
Yeah, and our runners that have kept their mushroom instead of trading it into the witch, they can do another minor glitch to grab an extra item out of Kakariko Village. But of course, they're going to need the mirror to get that. So they might find powder before they actually get around to grabbing that item in the Lumberjack Hut. And I should also mention that the Lumberjack Hut not only requires defeating the optional boss at the top of Hyrule Castle, it also requires the Pegasus Boots.
And we have located the Titan's Mitts. And it is Zero Rush who has done that out of the boss of Desert Palace. And of course, that was only accessible because he picked up that fire rod in Agina's cave, because you need some sort of fire source to get there. So Zero Rush is going to be able to clear out a much larger swath of items up here on Death Mountain.
Yeah, with the Moon Pearl. Oh no, did he? Yeah, with the Moon Pearl and the hookshot in hand, he could pretty much clear every overworld item on Death Mountain, since he'll be picking up that hammer on the way as well. Well, scratch that. I think that he's a little bit low on health for Spike Cave, so he's going to have to leave one item there for now.
But I think one of the bottles he picked up has a fairy, so maybe?
That's a question for our developers. I think that...
I mean, it's definitely not in Logic. Logic would require you to either have the Cane of Burna or the cape and a bottle or half magic.
Another handy use of the book, which Andy just showed us, is that you can access the items on the Ether and Bomulus tablets, the big green rectangle that Andy was just at. You would need a Master Sword or better to obtain the item, but even with just the book, you can see what's there, and it looks like it's just couch cash. So Andy is going to be checking Eastern Death Mountain. Zero Rush will be over there quite soon as well, but he also is going to have access to the Dark World side of that since he picked up the gold glove.
Now what I'm wondering is, where is that Death Mountain access? Because right now we do not have the lamp, nor do we have the flute, which would be required by the Logic to get up here.
That's true. Nobody's supposed to be up Death Mountain yet.
Has anyone checked Sick Kid?
I don't believe so. We did find that bottle in Spectacle Rock as well as a bottle behind the waterfall, so the Sick Kid, one of the NPCs living in the village of Kakariko, is going to have one other item for us. So,
yeah, I think either lamp or flute is probably, or maybe just lamp is at Sick Kid. So we get our map check for the Dark World, and it does look like Swamp Palace is in fact a crystal today. Our other two pendants are Thieves Town and Skull Woods, which are the most accessible dungeons in the Dark World, unfortunately. And of course, it turns out Swamp was the other 5-6.
Yeah, the other red crystal required to access Pyramid Fairy. I was really hoping to see Swamp Palace.
There's our boots and the magic powder in what we call the Hype Cave.
Oh, there we go. We can turn in that mushroom safely and not need it for the sequence break. But it would have been really funny if Misery Mire and Turtle Rock were both pendants as well as Swamp, because then the Mirror and Cane of Samaria, none of them might be required at all. And then you get to Ganon's Tower, find out that you do need Cane of Samaria to go to the right side, and then you have to go kill Aghanim after all. Plando idea.
Oh boy. Don't give Cross Product any Plando ideas.
Yeah, some people think that the engine that randomly places items isn't good enough, and there are worse situations that the random number generator hasn't thought of.
So Andy's taking a stab at the digging game. The digging game, of course, notorious in Link to the Past speedruns, or 100% speedruns, for being the worst RNG.
I made a little pug out of the dirt.
Aw. But in this version of the game, of course, we normalize that RNG, so everyone gets it on the same dig.
Yeah, a number of things, such as boss patterns, such as the dig, such as the chest minigame as well, where there's an item. Those have been normalized for all runners so that there is no, as the developers call it, unfair randomness for people racing against each other. It's kind of funny. They made A Link to the Past randomizer, and they made certain things less random. But that's just so that everyone's on a level playing field. Nobody can get lucky and have a much faster or easier boss pattern than someone else. Which is going to come into play, actually, with the mini-boss Aghanim, since he's going to be required. He's one of the biggest sources of RNG, or randomness, in the original vanilla Link to the Past runs.
So Sick Kid only has 10 arrows. Where is that lamp?
Oh, he was in... Those were his acupuncture needles. He was just in bed for therapy. And Andy just took them.
Well, I mean, look, sometimes you just really need some needles.
I do believe that Furaim and Amazing Ampharos have both checked Lumberjack. I think Andy might have skipped it. I don't know if he's actually gone up there yet. I believe... Oh, Andy did check it.
Oh,
Thank
right.
you, chat.
The lamp can be in the Dark World. I realize this because the Titan's mitts are in logic without it.
Ah, correct.
The hammer's not, but the Titan's mitts are, so you can reach the Dark World via this one Dark World portal in Kakariko Village. But with that piece of knowledge, Zero Rush should know that the lamp can't be like on the east side of Dark World. No, you can't. It can because of the flippers. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's a bit too soon to tell also since we've yet to see the flute. Oh, wait. No, because the Death Mountain... Because the old man's always a dark room, even if you flute up the Death Mountain, so... It is lamp, you're right. Now, we also know... Actually, since the sequence has to go... Lamp... No, this doesn't actually give us any information on flute now, I don't think. Since we know that lamp is possibly the intended item to get up Death Mountain.
It's a very interesting scenario we're in logic-wise, but I really don't think we can actually glean any information from it. It's kind of sad. So it does look like Amazing Ampharos did pick up the fire rod before heading into desert.
That's good. A lot of runners will actually check Aegina's Cave after doing desert, but maybe he was just doing it hoping that it was a fire source.
That is what he did in... Oh, no, I think... Oh, no, this is the first time. But Zero Rush actually did check Aegina's Cave after going through desert, and then came back in.
Yeah, and that's typically the path, since you can just jump down off of the ledge from desert, getting to Aegina's Cave, and you're kind of deep in the cave, so it's a good point to save and quit. It's less backtracking on foot.
So Andy has now made his way into Thieves Town, which is traditionally the 4th dungeon in the Dark World, but more than likely the first dungeon most players do in the Dark World. However, this is a pendant dungeon this time, so you're a little less incentivized to clear it out.
Yeah, with that book also, next time one of the runners is near the village, keep an eye out to see if they head into the woods and go up to the northwest corner. There is a Master Sword pedestal deep within the forest. Okay, yeah, there it is. Furaim read my mind somehow.
Alright, so the Master Sword pedestal, of course, requiring all 3 pendants to pull. So if this is important, it's going to be big. Nope, just money.
Yeah, if they want that just couch cash, they're going to have to do 3 extra dungeons, so I don't foresee anybody going out of the way for that. Especially not when Furaim already has 900 rupees. You basically need about 600 to 700 for the entire run.
And it looks like our lamp was in Thieves Town.
Okay, so that logic loop is now closed.
And Zero Rush is checking the dark side of Death Mountain. And was able to open Turtle Rock thanks to the Bombos Medallion. So in the original game, it requires the Ether Medallion to open Misery Mire and the Quake Medallion to open Turtle Rock. However, as another part of the randomization of this game, we randomize which medallion opens what dungeon.
We do have some new overworld checks coming from Furaim. Well, not... Possibly some new ones coming up. Oh, he didn't get the Titan's Mitt yet. So, there are a couple more overworld items that Andy wasn't able to check. will require the Titan's Mitt. That, again, was from the boss of Desert Palace, Land Mola. That's what Amazing Ampharos is actually about to grab. And once again, I would just like to remind everybody that you are watching A Link to the Past Randomizer Summer Tournament Qualifier. Greetings to everybody. Hello from East Coast US. Good morning, evening, night, wherever you happen to be in the world. And greetings to the Twitch front page. What we're doing right now is A Link to the Past Randomizer. This is a game that's been around for just over 25 years. It was released on Super Nintendo, and some hackers got into it and moved all of the items around. The goal will be the same: collect the items to explore dungeons within Hyrule, collect 7 crystals to open up Ganon's tower, and defeat Ganon and save the land of Hyrule and Princess Zelda. This is a tournament qualifier, meaning that these runners are competing for the top 8 places to play in a bracket stage to compete for top prizes of cash prizes totaling $7,500.
And there is Frame picking up his lamp as well. Zero Rush will be the last of our runners on stream to pick up those boots. However, he was the first to find the fire rod, so that could be an equalizer there. Andy is exploring Eastern Palace, which we saw Amazing Ampharos explore a little while ago. Not going to be much
shout-outs
down here. Go ahead.
Shout-outs to It's Imbalanced for the Twitch Prime subscription. Donations, bits, subs are not required, but always appreciated. So thank you very much on behalf of the Speed Gaming staff and crew. But yeah, this Eastern Palace is going to require a bow. It's not been found yet. All right, so what is a good place for the runners to check from commentary perspective? What locations do we still need to see that are available?
Well, I mean, as of right now, with so Andy didn't check the Lumberjack Cave, and that's a real problem. But once someone has the boots and knows that the Lumberjack Cave is available,
actually,
we still need to be able to get to Aga Tower. We can't get in.
Exactly. We're going to need either a second sword or a cape to bypass the barrier to that mini-boss Aghanim. That's going to unlock the mirror as well as the Cane of Samaria, and that's really going to blow this seed wide open.
Yeah. Now, one thing you might do, though, is with that Cane of Samaria, or with the mirror, you go get the Cane of Samaria and you go to Turtle Rock. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Okay, and also thank you to DogD93, Zimjaha, and the Domo-kun for your Twitch Prime subscriptions, and Carlin31 and Danzig. Wow.
Good lord. I have never seen this much support at one time. Thank you all so much.
Yeah. And while you're spreading your love around, go ahead and follow the runners. These guys are the ones doing all the work, putting on a show for you. Andy's Your Rush, Fear Aim, and Amazing Ampharos. So go ahead and give those guys a follow. You will not be disappointed. You are going to see A Link to the Past Randomizer non-stop if you follow these 4 guys.
And there's Obsidian TK also with a Twitch Prime sub, so thank you very much for that. We got Varame heading into the back of Desert Palace, going to pick up that Titan's Mitt. And Zero Rush going to check one of the few locations he has access to that no one else does, the good old King's Tomb. Unfortunately, just a piece of heart there as well. Now, one of the things that you learn as you're running this game is that there are a certain number of items available in each dungeon. The number of keys and dungeon items, such as the map and compass, tend to limit the things that you can find in dungeons. So one thing you can do is, as you're going through dungeons, keep track of that count so that you know not to check any more chests on the way up if you don't have to.
Exactly. In the case of Amazing Ampharos, he's in Tower of Hera. There are 2 items plus a small key, a big key, a map, and a compass. So if you find those 2 items early on, you no longer have to continue searching for items. Otherwise, you're just going out of your way to pick up an old map, and you can find those online pretty much anywhere these days. So Andy is actually going into Desert Palace now. He will be able to finish since he picked up that lamp from Thieves Town. I don't think it's going to be a problem for him. I don't think he's going to miss out on that fire rod. As I said, so the Aegina's Cave on the east side of the desert is kind of a natural trek after you get out of the dungeon.
All right, so Frame gonna go pick up his fire rod. Both of these runners, you know, having a good time because they have that lamp, as stated before. Because otherwise, they'd have to go back into Desert Palace.
Yeah, we're still looking for... So, Zero Rush actually... We just saw him return the frog. Well, he's Jeremiah. He was a bullfrog, but he isn't anymore. Turned into a dwarf. Took him home and checked that sick kid.
So I was about to make the suggestion that Zero Rush is doing right now, and that's Ice Palace.
Yeah, I was actually, for some reason, thought it was off the table, but they do actually have a sword and a hammer so that they can defeat the boss in here. This is a 3-item dungeon, and the chests are kind of spread out, so this is a particular case where you want to keep track of how many items you've picked up so far.
We all know you never get to skip Iced Tea Room. You want to. Because, yeah, Ice Palace is pretty... it's pretty cumbersome to navigate, especially when you're trying to get every single chest. There's our first item in Ice Palace, just a full heart container.
Yep, and since Zero Rush does not have the Cane of Samaria yet, he will almost certainly be doing a bomb jump in order to bypass some pegs. So keep your eyes peeled on the bottom left in a couple screens when he gets into the room with the fire bar.
And it looks like Frame is also heading into Ice Palace.
Yeah, and Zero Rush actually leaving that room with the orange pegs up tells me that he's already setting up for that bomb jump. So what he's going to do is he's going to put a bomb down and then line up Link's pixels to a precise location so that the bomb pushes him on a diagonal line to get past these orange pegs. And this is basically going to skip an extra lap around the dungeon as intended by the developers. Yeah, just kidding. We all know the developers intended us to pop in Palace 6 first. Nah, not really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
And we have Furaim also heading into Ice Palace. And we have a King's Tomb check from Amazing Ampharos. That's just a piece of heart. Now, Andy... We'll see if Andy wants to employ one of his signature tricks to bypass the requirement. No, he's not doing
it. That might be a bridge too far, or lack of bridge too far.
Or in the case of a pug, a bridge too fur.
There we go. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness indeed.
So the Ice Palace has our archery equipment, which, as we know, is required for both Eastern Palace and Palace of Darkness, the ones sitting over on the right-hand side of the map, and of course required to get up Ganon's tower. So it's required no matter what the crystal layout is.
And of course our first runner to get the bow is the only one without silver arrows. Dang. I always seem to have trouble finding the bow. It's always elusive. It's definitely my archer rival. And it looks like Andy's gonna go ahead and check out Spike Cave. So he's got a fairy and a hook shot, so he should be able to tank all of the damage he needs to get this item. And does have the blue cane as well, so he's not gonna have any troubles whatsoever. Yeah, he's gonna start off tanking down to 1 heart just to conserve his MP a little bit.
Yeah, so the Cane of Burna is usually what you find in this room. You're intended by the developers to use the magic cape to get through there, but
because the blue cane actually is in that chest in the vanilla game. Okay, will Andy be the... Oh. Changed his mind. Maybe he wanted to head out into Swamp Palace and then realized that he couldn't get in there.
So Zero Rush is currently finding himself in a pretty precarious position. It looks like he is going to come up here and use the magic powder to get himself some health.
Yeah, he did not grab the bug net.
Oh no, he's going over to Ice Tea Room. Never mind. He didn't grab the bug net, huh?
Yeah, he did not grab the bug net from the digging game. But I do believe he does have a bottle that already came equipped with a fairy, so...
I believe I saw him die and use it, unfortunately.
Oh. Well, using hammer
first trip up Death Mountain.
Zero Rush easily navigates the Hoth Hook with his Pegasus boots and enters the Iced Tea Room. See, it's shaped like a sideways T. But yeah, the boss of Ice Palace is one of the more difficult ones to do with lower equipment, and with only a fighter's sword, he's going to have to rely on that hammer, which has just a terrible hitbox. Can't even mash his skull with it. Yeah, that's going to be a rough fight, especially already down his fairy. But he's going to go for it nonetheless. He doesn't have to worry about filling up on his magic since he's got the Bombos Medallion. And we'll be glad to open up with that Bombos Medallion and save some of that MP for Fire Rod shots. So,
looks like he'll have enough for 5 shots, it looks like. He's just shy of having a full 6.
Yeah, if he manages to keep the 3 puffs grouped together with the Fire Rod shot, then that's... really going to make his life a little bit easier. Gets a good splash damage on those Fire Rod shots, but he's still got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, each of those would have gone down in 3 or 4 Fire Rod shots.
And Furaim in a similar situation might only have 4 Fire Rod shots for Furaim, but I think that he's got a blue potion at least, so he can actually use up his Fire Rod shots and then refill.
Oh, looks like Andy checked the pyramid and found the magic cape.
Okay, so he's going to be the first one to enter Aghanim's tower. And
so apparently he does know about that mirror.
Chat assures us that Andy has checked the Lumberjack Cave and knows where the mirror is. And I could foresee him actually going straight to Turtle Rock once he grabs the mirror.
Andy, of course, doing his best John Cena impression to get inside Aga Tower.
You mean he disappeared?
Exactly.
I thought that was like a Harry Potter thing, the Cloak of Invisibility. This game does have all 3 Deathly Hallows. It's got the Moon Pearl and the Fire Rod as well.
All right, I'll take it. Though I think you could make an argument that the sword qualifies if you've got full health, and if you've got the Philosopher's Stone, why don't you have full health?
Maybe powder is the Philosopher's Stone because it makes fairies.
All right, so Amazing Ampharos also heading up Aghanim's tower because he found the Master Sword.
Yeah, so that's actually quite interesting. We have two runners in Aghanim's tower, but they each found their individual way of getting in there. I did not catch the location of that Master Sword.
So all I know is it wasn't in Ice Palace.
So the Master Sword's going to make this mini dungeon a lot easier. Tons of health on everybody. So Hammer Pegs was the location of the Master Sword. So
Hammer Peg's a small, sort of out-of-the-way location just east of Village of Outcasts.
yeah, unfortunately, Andy did not have the Titan's mitts while he was in Village of Outcasts, so he was unable to check it at the time.
All right, so we're about to go up against Aghanim 1. This is a notorious fight in the speedrunning community for being extremely random, but of course in the randomizer, we normalized that type of randomness, so each person will be receiving the same number of projectiles that can reflect into Aghanim.
Yeah, Aghanim can either shoot energy balls or blue balls. The energy balls can be reflected back at him to damage him, but the blue balls just explode upon impact. So, like you said, one of the biggest sources of randomness in the normal Link to the Past speedrun. But this is not going to be a determining factor of the race, since the randomizer developers have made sure to normalize them across all runners. And we already see Amazing Ampharos looked like he even caught up to Andy a little bit within Aghanim's tower, since he had the Master Sword advantage.
So let's talk turkey for a second. I believe we know where all the items are that you need to complete this seat.
That's true. I think so, because the only outstanding item would be the flute, which we're not going to need since Misery Mire is a pendant. Yeah, it looks like it. And we also have the medallion that we've already needed to open up Turtle Rock. Now, the problem is for Andy that he doesn't know where Bo is, so... Actually, I think with Ice Palace also being a crystal, he'll probably head in there. It's always good to route Turtle Rock as your final dungeon, since it's already up on Death Mountain, which is where you have to go to get into Ganon's tower.
Yeah, so some people would go for Turtle Rock in this situation, knowing where the cane is.
Yeah, and the advantage is that Turtle
Ice.
Rock has more items. Turtle Rock has 5 items, whereas Ice Palace only has 3. And when you have knowledge on where all of your required items are, and you are in what we call go mode, that is one of the best situations to be in to complete Ice Palace.
So it does look like Andy seems to be making a play on Turtle Rock here.
Wow, I got a triple hook shot on that dead rock. He says, "Get out of my way. You've stood in my way long enough." So
while
yeah.
maintaining that spin speed. Feels good, man.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Turtle Rock for Andy. From our perspective, the best he can hope for is a sword upgrade or 2. Maybe some health. I would say a sword upgrade in Turtle Rock is probably the best thing Andy can get. There are 2 sword upgrades still at large.
Now, the other unfortunate thing is one of our runners who have that mirror could also access Swamp Palace, which we know does not have any significant items in it.
That's true. A number of dungeons have a big time difference in how long it takes to complete them, between stopping to look at every item or just going straight to the end when you're in go mode, and Swamp Palace has one of those biggest differentials. Probably Swamp Palace and Ice Palace. And since Swamp Palace has more items, Andy is likely to do both, not in go mode, with the bow being in Ice Palace.
Speaking
of Swamp Palace,
Amazing Ampharos going for Swamp Palace here.
Yeah, I should know where Cane of Samaria is. What would be really bad is if Andy gets up to the boss of Swamp Palace and still hasn't upgraded his sword, because that is not a difficult but just a time-consuming fight, since you either have to set up tricky spin slices or you have to switch to hammer between each hit.
Yeah, I think spins is probably a little faster, but neither one is a particularly appealing situation. So it does look like if anyone decided to go into Palace of Darkness, they would have been able to get past the first door without the bow.
Yeah, depending on the key layout, you either quote need bow, or you can do a minor glitch, or the keys could be laid out in such a way that you don't actually need bow. And Zero Rush actually is showing us, oh wow, it came really close, showing us how to grab that chest without going around the long way and needing the bow. He's got the bow anyway, it's just faster to go in the back way. That's what we call hovering. So if you were looking at Zero Rush's screen a second ago and wondering what the heck is this guy doing, he's doing a minor glitch called hovering, which very few people can do, and even fewer can do well. The game only checks to see if you're on the ground for 1 frame when you release the A button from a dash. So if you only release the A button for a single frame, you can repress the A button and move forward while hovering in the air.
And it is a perfectly valid minor glitch. It's a little bit tricky to pull off. Really, the trick is to only release that A button for 1 frame, and you got to figure out some way to make sure that that can happen.
Many people with those will use their second and third fingers and kind of sweep them left and right over the A button with just the tiniest gap. And it also... I heard a story from AGDQ one time where Andy was teaching a friend of mine how to hover, and my friend was like, hovering's really hard, and Andy said, here, try my controller. And I just think certain controllers are maybe just, the hardware is maybe more favorable for hovering than others, but it could just be a myth. It could just be like, my friend might have just been, this is the legendary Andy controller. It might have just been the placebo effect, I don't know.
Could be. All right, so Amazing Ampharos now heading to Argus. I'm assuming because he's back here so quick, he did go ahead and skip the left side of Swamp Palace.
Yeah, so Andy's going to take a little bit of extra time in these dungeons, but there isn't really a reason for him to be distracted by Overworld, so even if he grabs that flute in Swamp Palace, maybe do 1 or 2 checks with it before going in the ice, but it's never bad to complete crystal dungeons while you can full clear them, because whether or not you find an item in there, picking up crystals is always progression. And, you know, that goes for Amazing Ampharos as well, who actually just picked up the bow, or he wishes. He just picked up the flute.
Yep. So, Frame, as we see, is heading through Palace of Darkness and did in fact manage to locate the Master Sword inside Palace of Darkness. So that's another location for a sword upgrade. Unfortunately, that means that's 1 less sword upgrade for Andy to find, or Amazing Ampharos to find here.
Yeah, I don't imagine Andy going too far out of his way once he finds that bow, which I think he'll want to check Ice Palace before Palace of Darkness. Since if he goes into Palace of Darkness, he's going to know that he won't be able to finish it unless Bo is inside Palace of Darkness, which it's not.
So for those of you wondering, the Cane of Samaria was up there on the floating island. So all of our runners should know where that is. They just have to get the mirror before they can do it. Now, with Frame having that Master Sword, and it looks like Zero Rush also has it at this point, they should both know that they can go to Aga Tower and pick up that mirror afterwards.
Yeah, and that is quite an appealing option with Swamp Palace being a crystal and full clearable once they grab that. So if you happen to just be joining us here, welcome to A Link to the Past Randomizer Summer Tournament Qualifier. My name is Cross Product. Joining me is Dr. Bob Tastic.
Yo.
And we are featuring a race tonight of an old Super Nintendo game. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not. It's his third game in the Zelda franchise, A Link to the Past. This is a randomized version of it. Ganon has swapped around all the items in Hyrule just to cause chaos. So Link's old strategy guide or Nintendo Power issue that he had before to tell him where Hookshot was is no longer going to be useful. He's going to have to explore Hyrule all over again, find the new items and the same items in the newer locations, and collect the 7 crystals to break the seal on Ganon's tower, defeat the pig, and save Hyrule. And I'll go ahead and let my partner in crime, Dr. Bob Tastic, explain the tournament aspect of what's going on right now.
All right, so we've got this is a tournament that is taking place over the next over the next month or so. There's a qualifier structure with 24 different matches, and in order to qualify, you've got to do fairly well in 4 different qualifier races. If you make the top 8 runners in those qualifier races via the metric that we're using, you will advance to the tournament itself, and the top 4 runners from that will qualify for cash prizes totaling $7,500. So this is probably the first large tournament representing, hacked games I've ever seen, and the most prize money on the line for sure.
Yeah, if you like the concept of taking one of your old favorite games and randomizing them and creating a new experience, but you aren't quite as big a fan of A Link to the Past, well, first of all, how dare you? But the Randomizer fever has been sweeping Twitch for the past couple years. There's Super Metroid Randomizer for pretty much every Legend of Zelda game now, as well as different Final Fantasy randomizers. You can find tons of randomizers and awesome speed gaming content on the Speed Gaming Network. So you're watching twitch.tv/speedgaming. But did you know there's a Speed Gaming 2, Speed Gaming 3, 4, 5, and 6, as well as the newly released Speed Gaming Deutsch and Speed Gaming Francois. I probably butchered the French one.
I think it would be Francais.
Francais.
But and I think there's also a Speed Gaming Espanol, but there's not much going on that channel at the moment.
Yeah, there are actually Link to the Past randomizer tournaments currently going on the German and French streams.
Yeah, there's also a randomizer for this and Super Metroid at the same time. Just throwing that one out there.
Yeah, if you're looking at your Speed Gaming events, there's actually a cooperative tournament currently in progress. But don't look at the brackets because I'm not doing so well.
All right, so Amazing Ampharos is activating the flute, so we'll get to say hi to everybody's favorite Swag Duck. How's it going? And he may head off to the one flute lock location in the game, that's the Misery Mire area. But there's no guarantees, and I would not expect him to go into Misery Mire. No, he's going directly to the mountain.
Yeah, and, keep in mind, as commentators and viewers, we know where the bow is And Weingner, thank you for the Twitch Prime sub. Never required, but always appreciated. We know where everything is, but you have to look at things from the runner's perspective. Turtle Rock has 5 items. Palace of Darkness has 6 items. Palace of Darkness has 5. Swamp Palace has 6 items. Those are much more appealing than your 3-item Ice Palace, and statistically, the runners are making the correct play from their perspective. Unfortunately, the statistically best play doesn't always work out in practice. If you've ever played any card games, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. But he didn't just lose his shield, did he? Did Zero Rush get his shield eaten?
I think it might have been. If he'd have done it, I think he'd have done it on purpose. I know a lot of people who will
oh wow,
give up
it wouldn't have mattered because he would have just picked up that red shield anyway.
All right. So Andy did just pick up the bow, and that is going to put him a sword upgrade away from the mythical state we like to call go mode.
Yeah, he's going to have to decide whether to keep looking for items in the dungeons he's about to clear, and if he does that in Palace of Darkness, he'll be rewarded. Or if he just wants to go to Ganon Tower and hope that he picks one up on the way. There is one sword upgrade still at large that we haven't seen. Remember, there was one in the Hammerpeg Cave in the Village of Outcasts to the east, and the Village of Outcasts is to the west. It's the east side of the west, you know what I'm saying. And the other one being that Palace of Darkness.
Yep, so there's still one more sword at large, and that could very well be in
we're told there's
Tower.
a sword in Swamp as well.
Oh, Swamp. Well then, Andy is going to have to find it somewhere along the way. I think there's a chance Andy will check the chest containing the sword in Swamp on the way there, unless it was like in the compass chest in the south or the map chest. But like,
I'm a little surprised that Andy went into Ice Palace before Swamp, but that's okay.
I'm actually a fairly large proponent of Ice before Swamp, mainly because of the large requirement of items for Swamp. It's got 6 items in it, but due to the requirements, the probability that the items you're looking for in there tend to decrease proportionally.
Right. Because the way the way Ganon distributes the items is that the more items that are required to get to a certain spot, the more likely that they were placed farther down along the item distribution, and thus the ones you're looking for have a higher chance of already having been placed before places like Swamp Palace or even Turtle Rock. And some Andy fans in chat here letting us know that Andy just has a particular distaste for Swamp Palace. And I say to that, why are you drinking swamp water?
Well, I mean, look, you got to go with what you can get a hold of. And some people just don't have good, clean water in this world.
Alright, so this is the moment of truth if Andy delves into this dungeon. Well, one of 2 moments of truth, since he's going to have another crack at it in Swamp Palace. But it looks like Andy's going to show us that hover. Get your hover emotes in chat. Andy is notorious. He's lining up the correct pixel so that he can fall in the pit, and he does! Bravo!
Well done.
This is
the way I've seen this done actually is to hover all the way around to the bottom and just walk up.
Yeah, the trickier hovers are the ones where you have to change direction midair. And with only 2 hearts left, he's going to want to play it a little safer. And Dirk Horser, thank you for the Twitch Prime scrub. Twitch Prime sub. Never required, always appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, definitely give the runners a follow.
All right, so Andy here should know that only one of these items on the right can be anything but a small key, because the key logic in Pod is well studied at this point.
Blackjack, thanks for the Twitch Prime subscription. Always appreciated, never required. Enjoy your emotes, enjoy your sub badge, enjoy the races. Make sure to give a follow to all 6 English speed gaming channels, as well as the foreign ones if you fancy yourself a bi, tri, or multilingual.
All right, so it looks like Andy will be heading over to the right side of Pod. The big key, I believe, was in the dark maze. So it's likely that the sword will be found as well, because I think it was there as well. Looks like Zero Rush is finally entering Thieves Town. He will be able to get that lamp, but that's all he's going to be able to get out of here, really. And if he decides to clear the back, that's going to spell disaster, to be honest.
Yeah. Andy is making a full clear of this Palace of Darkness. He's not going anywhere without that Master Sword. The question is, will he bother picking up the Tempered Sword when he gets to Swamp Palace?
Well, this leads me to believe that Zero Rush does not know where the mirror is.
That's true. He's heading into the Pendant Dungeon. I do remember that Andy and Zero Rush both started at Link's house, and were a little less apt to check Lumberjack in the beginning stages of the game. So I thought that Andy skipped checking it, but maybe Zero Rush was the one that neglected to check the jacks.
All right, so Frame here is heading up to Turtle Rock, which, according to my current information, is his last dungeon. He's cleared the remaining 6 crystal dungeons, and that will allow him to access Ganon's tower.
Yeah, and Andy has yet to finish Swamp Palace, so Furaim's in good shape right now, but both Furaim... Well, I guess Furaim's technically in go mode, since he should know where the Cane of Samaria is, even though he hasn't picked it up yet. But both of the runners are pretty much in go mode. Bow, bow, bow. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Thank you.
I'm glad I can be here with my top-notch air horn impression.
I'm afraid I just sounded like an airhead. So yeah, if your aim, I think, knows that the Cane of Samaria is but a couple screens and a mirror away. Maybe hoping to grab another sword.
He definitely saw it on the way in.
Yeah, he's going for it.
Yeah, when you're sitting on Master Sword, you would really like to have Tempered Sword at any point, just because Tempered Sword is going to save you time at basically every juncture along the way. Most people will not go out of the way looking for the 4th sword once you have the Tempered Sword.
Right, with optimal execution, the Butter Sword or Gold Sword doesn't actually save you any time on the last boss. It's more of a luxury. But Zero Rush taking a little bit of a death warp so that he can get back to the beginning of the dungeon and turn in the maiden or just leave her behind.
Now, the Gold Sword can give you access to this, or a little bit of extra time on this boss that Amazing Ambrose is fighting, Trinex. But that's about the only real time save I can think of.
So, fun fact about the gold sword: gold sword spins actually deal the same amount of damage as gold sword slashes, with one exception. Let's see if my co-commentator or chat can figure out which enemy it is that takes extra damage from a gold sword spin.
I believe I know this one. I think it is the Hinoxes.
That's correct. You can actually destroy Hinoxes with one hit. So the way the game is programmed, basically a spin attack upgrades your sword to the next level. So a level 2 sword, if you use a spin attack, treats it as a level 3 sword. And for whatever reason, there's no damage table for level 5 swords other than for that one enemy. And Hinoxes are the enemies in the Dark World, the big orange ogre dudes with the poo hair, like the Earthbound guy Pooh. They've got like a poo hair and they've got tusks and they throw bombs at you. I guess I should have just said the dudes that throw bombs at you.
Yep, and they were in this game and they basically disappeared until Breath of the Wild. They came back. In force.
Or Zuko hair, if you will. Okay, so Andy actually decided to clear out Eastern Palace first, since he was already there doing Palace of Darkness. Just had the mirror to head over, and he's gonna have to go and do Swamp Palace, and I don't know how he feels about looking for a tempered sword or not.
Amazing Ampharos is going to the Dark Escape Chest looking for that bow, really wanting to avoid having to go into Ice Palace or Bowless Pod or Eastern. Ooh, Raimi just did fake powder. So there's a glitch, of course, with the powder and the mushroom, or whatever's in that item slot, that allows you to, if you use the Cane of Samaria, and then immediately pause and switch to the powder, as long as you had no magic when using the Cane of Samaria, it will use that powder. Even if you have the mushroom, but in this case, it works when you have the actual powder, too.
Yeah, as long as you have an item on that tile in the menu. I thought Andy just mirrored or something. He has powder equipped for some reason. But anyway, just a quick dungeon map check to see if he's already been here, I guess. He's already passing over one item. I guess he'll probably get the chest in the waterfall room, maybe even the two south of the waterfall on his way up to the Argus boss. But that's going to be it. I don't remember which particular chest had the sword, so
yeah, I think we can say pretty safely that those chests likely did not contain the sword, because Frame also does not have a sword, a third sword. So I think he skipped it as well.
Yeah, so Andy's not wasting any time. So with Silver Arrows, his Ganon fight's not going to be too bad. So you might be asking, it's just a level 2 sword or a level 3 sword. It's just have to hit the guides a couple more times. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal comes in the final phase of, well, not the final phase, but in the final boss of the game, Ganon. Spoiler alerts, by the way. Ganon can only be damaged with a level 3 sword, which means in order to harm him with a level 2 sword, you can only use spin attacks, and that takes up quite a bit more time than just simply slashing with a tempered sword.
So the difference between 12 spins and 12 slashes is huge. Now, Frame is doing the back the backward dash strats here on Trinex, getting the hammer hits in before that Firehead was able to move much at all.
Yeah, this is basically what you would see in a low percent run of the game. Link to the Past vanilla or the normal base game has a few different categories that people like to speedrun. And one of them is low percent, where you collect the absolute minimum required number of items to beat the game without glitches. And in that case, you would have basically this setup. You'd have the blue sword, and you'd have to switch over to hammer in order to get the most damage out of each stun on the Trinex heads.
All right, so Frame finishing off Trinex. That's the 7th crystal. You can all let us know where you think that Ganon's Tower big key is, coming up 22 different spots where it can be, and that is the last thing you need before you can beat this game. Andy finishing off Argus. That will be his 7th crystal. So Andy is a Death Mountain climb behind Frame here, heading into Ganon's Tower.
So we actually do have a little chat mini game where our viewers know what's up. They already started spamming guesses before we officially started the game. But the first person to guess correctly out of the number from 1 to 22 will be added to the leaderboards and will win the prize of glory.
I think we don't do the leaderboard version for these qualifier races, but for now, but feel free to go ahead and put your guesses in.
Oh. Maybe I shouldn't have started the game then.
Oh, did you? Well then.
Okay, so chest number 1 is a small key. Chest number 2 is the very rare red rupee.
Oh no. So we are seeing the play that some runners like to make, the right side play, assuming you get a small key in one of the first 2 chests here. There are varying degrees of success with this, and of course, in any given race, it could be the right move.
The right move. Okay,
I mean, it is a right move.
Andy has already completed Turtle Rock, remember, so he's on his way to Ganon's Tower as well. So Firame has a little bit of a head start in searching for that big key, but even just a divergence of paths could bring these runners really close together.
All right, so nothing of major import in the right-hand side. We did find the half magic, though. It's going to make the final fight just a little bit easier.
And we just got the bow for Amazing Ampharos, and he is the first runner to achieve Go Mode with a Tempered Sword.
Well, there we go.
And he's already completed Turtle Rock as well, so he just has to do Palace of Darkness and Eastern, which shouldn't take him too long, I'd imagine. And if you're just joining us from the Twitch front page or elsewhere, or if you've been with us all along and somehow forgot, you are watching a Link to the Past Randomizer Summer Tournament Qualifier, which you obviously knew if you were just looking at the words at the top of the stream. But if you're not sure what that means, what we're playing is A Link to the Past, a game for Super Nintendo released about 25 years ago, 3rd game in the Legend of Zelda franchise. But this is a special game where we have the same maps, same items, same bosses, but the items and the dungeon prizes have been shuffled around. So the runners are going to have to use their wits and figure out which locations open up from the random items that are, spread throughout Hyrule. And we are already in the final area of the game. Our top 2 runners, Andy and Firame, are duking it out. I think... Did Andy actually go left side first? So
I believe he did.
Yeah, he's already gained some time on him, since we know, unless the key's in Tile Room.
There is that possibility. Right there, Frame just opened that chest and found the small key in the Snake Room, which now makes it possible for Tile Room to contain the big key. You have to have at least 3 small keys among the first 9 chests. And Tile Room is one of those. But we found 3 now.
We're in what we affectionately call the Rando Room on Furane in the top right. And we call it that because you generally don't see too much of that room unless you're playing rando. Or playing 100% all chests.
That has got to be the memeiest category.
So what we're doing right now is qualifiers for a bracket tournament coming up. All the runners will have to compete in 4 qualifier races, and the 8 players with the best scores will move on to compete for cash prizes totaling $7,500.
Yep. I'm kind of glad I got my qualifiers out of the way. I'm not going to qualify, but I feel pretty good about it.
I mean, I guess you could say I'm done with my qualifiers as well.
Sweet.
That meaning I haven't played or plan to play any. There are just a lot of good runners, man. And you're looking at them right now, and if you want to watch them...
There we are. Big key in the vanilla room. It's a little behind it. So on the right-hand side.
So was that, I think, 19? Was that the... How many chests? You left tile room and 2 in that room?
No, I think for Fareem it was... No, he got all the chests in that room. I think
so he got everything but tower room, so that would make it 21. Let's see if Andy checks the right chest first. No, he's not gonna. Could have saved a second there. But we're coming up on the toughest part of the run, what we call the gauntlet, in the upstairs area of Ganon's tower. So Andy will try to rely on execution, see if he can cover some ground here. Andy did already come in first
close race.
First qualifier run, so it's trying to make it the bifecta, I guess.
Yep. The way our qualifiers are structured, if you win a race, no matter how many people are in it, you get the same amount of credit. As the places go down, the number of people in the race does start to matter. But there are a good 22 people in this qualifier race, so it's going to be pretty valuable to anybody who finishes well.
Yeah, it goes by percentile, so if you finish in first place, it's 100 points, whether you're first of 10 or first of 100, so... But...
And Fareem making very quick work of that gauntlet already, and already on to the Landmola refight. We've already seen the Armos Knights refight. And a 1-cycle Landmolas as well with the silver arrows. Those, of course, being a 1-shot, 1-kill on those Landmolas.
Yeah, in addition to this execution and gauntlet, they're also going to have some tough Ganon fights ahead of them.
Yeah, the Master Sword Ganon fight is not a fight that I envy. I'll tell you that much. All right, the torch room here for Fareem. And gets there in plenty of time. No need to worry about a glitch that we're not going to mention because that would be awful.
Glitch that must not be named.
And
so don't forget, we're
going to go
only
ahead and check those chests on the way up.
Yeah, they don't know that there won't be a sword in them.
Yeah, with the... If you're still looking for the Tempered Sword, it does make sense to go ahead and just check these. Because the Tempered Sword would make up for the difference in time.
Yeah, but don't forget, we do have 20-some runners in this race, and I don't think anyone's finished quite yet, but we're only able to feature these 4. I think Dr. Bob-tastic's got his eye on the SRL.
I do.
But he also doesn't want to reveal anything since we're on a delay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Andy Hover!
There it is. Andy is going to forego his chance at, low chance at a sword there in that final chest, but is a very impressive trick to get across that gap without using the hook shot.
Furaim got a. Oh, that was so close to being a double triple. One of the 3 hits from phase 2 didn't quite land. They landed too close together, so Aghanim's invincibility frame saved him.
And unfortunately,
rounds here. I think Andy just got a triple as well.
Unfortunately, those blue projectiles there really trolled Frame, and so he's gonna lose a cycle here. Oh no, Andy lost the same cycle.
Yeah, so it's a wash. Oh, Andy actually got a double in the first round, so both of them finishing in 4 rounds. A little differently, but it took about the same amount of time.
All right, so the Master Sword Ganon fight, very, very intensive fight. For him getting a double spin there off of the Trident.
Yeah, remember, it's going to take 12 spins for each of the first 2 phases.
Right, and then after that, you need to land a spin for every hit in phase 3, which you'll need 4 of those, and then for every hit that you need for the silver arrows, which could be, depends on how many arrows you land at a given time.
And Furaim made good use of those hookshot invincibility frames to sneak in for another double hit within the Ring of Fire there.
And he's now in the optimal location up in the upper right-hand corner.
Yeah, already into phase 3. Only got a couple teleports to start off with from Ganon, so 4 hits here will put him into the final phase, which shouldn't be too difficult since he's got the silver arrows. So you can kill Ganon while he's frozen if you have silver arrows. Otherwise, it's going to take a lot longer to finish phase 4. But both of our runners in the Ganon fight have silver arrows right now.
All right, so both runners in phase 3. Looks like Ganon decided to take his time in the second hit of phase 3. Of course, these teleports will be normalized again between the runners, so no one will have to experience more teleports than the other.
Yeah. Furaim trying to freeze Ganon in the middle of the room and set up a double, possibly a triple hit with the silver arrows. He's going to have to settle for 1 and finish him off in another torch cycle.
And that's going to give Andy the chance to catch up here. It's going to be a very close finish.
This is going to be a double here for Furaim, though, if he executes it well, and he does. So Ganon is down for Furaim. He has but to wait for the door on the north side of the room to open, and then he has to walk through it. He did hit the fanfare a little ahead of Andy, so a really close match, but we'll wait and see. And Furaim does manage to finish. And you can read off the official SRL times for our viewers.
Okay, the official SRL times for our 2 runners. These are first and second place. We have Furaim in first place with a time of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 41 seconds. Andy in second place with a time of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 44 seconds. So close. 3 seconds between them in the official SRL time. Now, for those of you familiar with our spring tournament, there was a rule that a 4-second difference resulted in a tie. That is not the case for these qualifier races.
Yeah, Andy all but caught up with that hover, skipping the Moldworm 2 fight, but it was just shy of getting him in there. Sandwiched Homecoming. So we thought that the witches took the mushroom were sandwiches. Apparently Sahasrahla is the sandwich.
Oh, okay. See, that's the problem. And I mean, he had the silver arrows, so what are you going to do about it, right?
Yeah, the silver kebab skewer.
All right, so we'll see about getting our runners in to discuss this marvelous display.
Yeah, meanwhile, we have Amazing and Ferris just entering Ganon's tower, and Zero Rush about halfway through Turtle Rock, his final crystal dungeon. So while we are letting the credits roll and waiting for the runners to take a breather before popping in for an interview, just remind you that this is the first qualifier of week 2 in the Link to the Past summer tournament. So plenty more races coming up. Our next qualifier for this tournament is actually going to be tomorrow afternoon at 2:15 p.m. That's Eastern time. It would be 8:15 p.m. Central European time.
It does sound like we have been joined in chat by Andy. Andy, congratulations. Very close race there at the end.
Yeah, it was 3 seconds is not a long time.
Yeah, so
But it was a really fun seed. I liked it a lot.
yeah, so we applauded you for the trip into Ice Palace before Swamp.
Swamp was like the last place I wanted to go with Fighter Sword, so it was a real easy decision for me.
And Vrim is here in chat with us. I don't know if he's going to join us for a voice interview, but congratulations again, Vrim, on this first place finish. That's going to set you up rather nicely for later races here. And of course, second place, really not going to hurt your chances of qualifying, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little nervous about this race because there's a ton of big names in this race. So I'm really glad that I got second. It was close, I guess.
Yeah. So one of your opponents on stream, Zero Rush, he was by far the first person to find the fire rod. Because he decided to go over to Desert Palace following that book and immediately went back in after getting the fire rod to get the Titan's mitts. So we thought for a while that he was going to be way out in the lead, but he didn't check the Lumberjack Cave, so he took forever to find the mirror.
Dang, that's pretty unfortunate for Zero Rush.
It looks like Andy won the tech smash in the Triforce room, though. His credits are a little bit ahead of your name, so...
Oh man, but yeah, it was a really interesting seed. So I got book, and I thought about going to desert, but I was like, man, I don't even have a fire source. I don't have boots. If it's like this, could just be like a terrible waste of time. When it turns out me just being stupid and trying to go to Aghanim's Tower early was a bigger waste of time. But Sequence broke the hammer, and then I got the lamp in Thieves Town. So I was like, okay, that means mitts are in the light world somewhere. And then I got mitts from Landmo, and I was like, well, that means Fire Rod is in the light world somewhere. And then I got Fire Rod immediately after. It was just really funny.
Very nice deduction there. It's not often that people can come up with these, logical deductions about item locations on the fly. But that's what separates some of the better runners from some of the, less great runners. And of course, there's also the execution part. There's that.
Yeah, it was really so. Once I got the cape on Pyramid, I went to Aga, and I was just thinking about my decisions, and it was either like, well, go get the mirror, and then there was the cane on Death Mountain to go into Turtle Rock, which I had already knew that I could complete, or Ice or Swamp. And I didn't want to do Ice or Swamp with Fighter Sword. And like ideally, I lose like the minute going up Death Mountain and an extra time, but I could save go moding Ice and Swamp. But then Turtle Rock had nothing.
And I was saying earlier on, Turtle Rock was a very solid play. Now, when you went to Turtle Rock, we knew where the bow was at that point, so it was unfortunate, but...
it was the most item-dense location they had available at the time, so nobody's going to call that a mistake. It's just a little bit You unfortunately made a statistically good play.
Yeah, but I can blame not first place on me going to Agonim's Tower too soon. Also, so it's whatever.
Well, there were, I believe, 22 runners in this race, you said? So you beat
so,
20 out of
second
21
place.
runners, which gives you 95 percentile points, and add that to your 100 from the first race.
Yeah,
It's
not
looking
looking
pretty
too
good
bad.
for you.
All right. So, and as you said, this was a pretty fun seed. The turns out, flute not required in this seed, which is pretty rare. Looks like Zero Rush didn't even get it.
Yeah, after Swamp, I decided to not check any more extra chests for a sword. I just went in like, yeah, I'm gonna do my mash sword again, and I have silver arrows, so it's not too slow, I suppose. So I don't know where. I think I heard another sword was like left side swamp. I don't remember where the other one was.
There was actually one in Hammerpeg Cave as well, so
Oh, nice.
you weren't able to get that on the way since you hadn't picked up the gold glove from Lan Mola the time you were in Village of Outcasts.
So yeah, the total swords, you had the first one, which was in Link's house. Duh.
You were the first to pick up a sword, though, Andy, so congratulations.
And then, of course, the one in Palace of Darkness. So
I could have gotten really owned if with those other two sword locations, if the big key was like in the front of Pod or something like that, I would have gotten super owned.
yeah, because you probably would have gone straight to GT looking for a sword, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Alright, so Amazing and Ferris just finished up his gauntlet in Land Mode 2. And Zero Rush is about to grab his big key from behind the ice Armos.
So, Andy, you're gonna have to do 2 more of these. Have you decided, which ones you're gonna go for, or you don't want to publicize that information? I don't know.
Well, all I'll say is I'm going out of town tomorrow until Sunday. So, take your picks.
There you go. If you want to dodge Andy in the qualifiers, now you know.
But if you're only now just joining in, you pretty much have to join like 4 out of the next 6 races. And for those of you just joining us, you are catching the tail end of A Link to the Past Randomizer Summer Tournament Qualifier. We've already had 2 of our on-stream runners finish, and these runners are playing a modified version of A Link to the Past for Super Nintendo, where Ganon, or some hackers, have shuffled the items around to create new and awesome adventures for the player to play through in the land of Hyrule. Same maps, same dungeons, same locations, but the items are swapped around. So creates a new experience for an old favorite. So something that I dearly love and really am excited about. And this particular event is to qualify for an 8-person tournament coming up soon, in which players will compete for a total prize pool of $7,500.
So, do you have anything else you'd like to say to the public at home before we continue following these runners here?
Yes, follow the runners.
Yeah, we can do that. Sorry, I didn't realize that we had stopped interviewing.
Yes, thank you very much, Andy, for joining us in the interview booth, and congratulations again on finishing 2nd place, gaining 95 percentile points to add to his 100 that he already had. So good luck to you in your final 2 races whenever you choose to run those. And I think, was it Pure Aim that this was his first race?
Yeah, this was his first race, so that will sort of by default put him into first place overall with the 100%, but he's going to have to keep that up if he wants to qualify.
The ending leaderboard should be pretty interesting, I think.
Yep. All right, so a little bit of a recap here. We have had some other people finish in the amount of time that we've seen here. We've had Kern finish in 3rd place with a 1:34.32. We've had Someone 325 finish in 4th with a 1 hour 36 minutes and 37 seconds. And McLagging finishing in 5th with a time of 1 hour 38 minutes even. And ZZZ Cube finishing with a time of 1 hour 39 minutes and 39 seconds in 6th place. Alright, Amazing Ampharos now on to the final phase of Ganon. Making use of the Tempered Sword. This is a much more leisurely fight because the Master Sword is a pain to use here. And that's going to be a very quick final phase. Amazing Ampharos is going to finish up here as well. And so we see in 7th place, we have a finish from Mekon with a time of 1 hour and 41 minutes and 9 seconds, followed by Amazing Ampharos in 8th place with a time of 1 hour 41 minutes and 17 seconds. So well played to Amazing Ampharos. Perhaps not the finish he was looking for, but congratulations nonetheless.
And that 8th place finish will give him 66 percentile points in this race. Meanwhile, Zero Rush is just starting his Ganon fight, hit phase 2. He also has a Tempered Sword. Oh, he's going to have to watch the hugs, though.
And it sounds like we are now joined by Amazing Ampharos. Hello, Amazing Ampharos. Congratulations on finishing.
Thanks, I guess. I don't think I'm qualifying.
Well, I mean, you know, it's not... I don't think it's a mathematical impossibility at this point, but...
No, it's not. Like, if I win... This is only my 2nd. If I won my 3rd and 4th, I'd totally be in there. But, I mean, it's a steep hill.
Yeah, it's possible that it might not work out, but I don't. There's really no harm in trying, I don't think.
Yeah, we'll kind of see how things go. It was a pretty strong field in this qualifier for sure. I really thought when I saw that mirror and then I saw that Swamp was Crystal that I might be in a really good position, but I guess that's not how it played out.
Yeah, of course, the Swamp versus Ice debate, comes back and rears its ugly head. And of course, it turning out to be Ice Palace today, but what are you going to do about it?
I mean, for me, the debate was Swamp versus Turtle Rock. Like, Turtle Rock was just obviously the best play neutrally, but Swamp seemed pretty good, and it was really just hard leveraging my mirror advantage that I was totally imaginary, apparently. And Swamp wasn't even that empty. It had a flute, a quake, a sword, and a mail.
The old flute. It's intended to speed you up, but it was a mere red herring.
I think it was blue. Anyway. But yeah, Amazing Ampharos, you still, I mean, this was one of those seeds where there's going to be some high variance between the runners depending on what plays are made, and you can absolutely defend every single play you made as a solid play, and unfortunately it just didn't work out for you.
Yeah, though there was also, I was pretty sloppy executionally this race. Not enough that I would have gotten, 127 or whatever insane time Andy and Farami got. But, I could have placed higher than 8th if I'd just played better. But, that's what happened, right?
Yep, that just, sometimes that's the way it plays out. I am going to go ahead and announce the, so we had a 9th place finish from Dante at 1:43.05, and Zero Rush here on stream finishing with an official time of 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 18 seconds in 10th place. So there is that.
That gives Zero Rush 57 percentile points for this race. And yeah, that was just a 13-second difference between 9th and 10th, so didn't catch how close it was on stream, but congratulations to Zero Rush for finishing in the top half of the race. And let's see if he's available to come in and give us a few words, kind or otherwise, depending on how he feels about this seed and that troll lumberjack location.
Yeah, Zero Rush. Let's just say you did have the mirror advantage over Zero Rush.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I just misread the modern meta, but I guess Zero Rush did in a different way, because I totally was imagining just wave after wave of people not finding the mirror forever, full clearing pod for nothing, doing all this extra stuff, but I guess that's just not how it played out.
Yeah, a lot of people tend to skip Lumberjack Cave for a while, but really I think what led people to check Lumberjack Cave in the end had to do with the logic and getting to the Dark World, because the hammer was technically a sequence break without the lamp, and so the way it actually intended you to get to the Dark World was with the Titan's Mitts off of Landmola's, and a lot of people hadn't gone to Desert Palace yet, so that might have led them to more checks than they would have otherwise done.
Oh yeah, that's actually the interesting stuff about it, because I was thinking, okay, lamp is probably going to be soon. I don't want to do East Death Mountain and that without the lamp, because I could be lamp blocked in Crystal Hera. So I went down. I was about to go to Desert. I'm like, Hype Cave's quick. I might find the boots and make Desert a better play. There they were. Then Fire Rod and Mitts, and that was just really interesting. And, then I just kind of made that play. I thought Sick Kid had really high value based on what I knew. He didn't. But then with that sword, I'll just say, if the lamp hadn't been in that chest in Thieves Town, we would have seen, or not seen as it turns out, Dark Aga Tower right then and there.
Oh yeah. I was honestly surprised there wasn't a Dark Aga Tower. Because if Zero Rush had checked Lumberjack Cave, he would have done Dark Aga Tower, because he actually found the lamp very late.
Yeah, I was just checking first 4 thieves. Maybe it's the bow, maybe it's the lamp, which would still save a good chunk of time at that point in the race. But Mir opened Swamp, Mir opened Turtle Rock, Mir opened a ton of Overworld. It just seemed like what I really needed to have ASAP. And then bow was an ice, but
Yep, sometimes it just happens that way. Well, it does look like Zero Rush is not going to be joining us here, from what I can tell. So, looks like we are going to be able to wrap things up here today. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our adoring fans here, Amazing Infros, before we wrap things up here today?
Not a whole lot. I hope they've been enjoying watching all of these, and even though they probably won't involve me, I hope they really look forward to this top 8 bracket. I think they are going to see a lot of really good racers in it.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, I want to thank all 4 of our runners, Andy, Frame, Zero Rush, and Amazing Ampharos for putting on an amazing show today. I want to go ahead and thank our trackers, Crunchy Chocobo and Merc249, for keeping track of all the items on screen, and of course my co-commentator Cross Product. Thank you so much for commentating with me today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Great working with you, Dr. Bob-tastic. Make sure you give Dr. Bob-tastic a follow as well, as he is an avid fan and streamer of A Link to the Past Randomizer as well.
Yeah, if you enjoyed what you saw here today, probably the best way to help all of those out involved is to give them a follow here on Twitch. I'm sure all of us would appreciate it quite a bit.
Yeah, not to mention all of the channels in the Speed Gaming Network. Speaking of which, as we wrap up here, this channel for Speed Gaming is going to be offline for a couple hours until 1 a.m. Eastern Time. But we do currently have some Zelda 1 randomizer going on at twitch.tv/speedgaming2, as well as Speed Gaming 3. And there is also a Speed Gaming 5 and I believe a Speed Gaming 6 that can give a follow to fulfill all of your speed gaming needs. You can go to their website and look and see what tournaments are going on, or you can just scroll down to that profile area. If you didn't know, on Twitch streams, if you scroll down from the stream, a lot of streamers write up little profiles and let you know what's going on, and Speed Gaming is no exception.
All right, so thank you once again. So we're going to wrap things up here today, so I will just say that I have been Dr. Bob-tastic.
And I've been Cross Product.
And we'll see you later, everybody.
See you next mission.